golden rule is to keep everything nice and cold. This is super cold. It's been sitting in the fridge. We are just going to focus on the design part. So this dough has been rolled out.
Nothing's been baked yet here.
Nothing's been baked yet. So we have pie dough in the pie shell. We've got a lovely blueberry rhubarb filling, or a blue barb. And then we've got our top crust rolled out. I always put my top crust on parchment so that if the dough starts to get warm, you can slide a baking sheet right under it, put it back in the fridge, chill it down, and you don't run the risk of this dough being on your work surface and then just like melting to your counter and running into a melty disaster.
And I can still see the butter in there. I mean,
exactly, and that's what you want. Yes, you want all those butter chunks and streaks, and that's what's going to bake up into those really lovely flaky layers. So for this design, we are going to cut this whole surface into strips. And again, contrary to popular belief, I'm not sitting here like measuring each strip and kind of sketching out. I just wing it and eyeball it because, again, kind of lazy sometimes. So first, I'm going to trim off these little scraggly bits. I'll just leave that there. And then for this design, it'll be about a 1/4 inch thick of a strip. And I'm right-handed, so I like to go right to left and then top to bottom. And again, earlier I talked about making what you have work for you. So when I first moved to Seattle and I made that first pie, I didn't even have a ruler in my tiny apartment. Didn't even know that a tool like this existed. So I used a cookie sheet and a knife to cut these dough strips. So again, you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need anything expensive to make this happen. Look around your kitchen, you'll be surprised how many tools are at your disposal, whether they're specifically for that purpose or otherwise. All right, so I am just going to make my way across the surface of the pie, slice this into strips.
Because when you assemble, I mean, it looks like it's this circle spoke, but I guess that's the optical illusion of it.
Yes.
You're actually just placing straight strips in that pattern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a spiral vortex, and sometimes I see photos of people trying it at home, and the tendency is to want to curve it around that center ring cutter that we'll place in the center of the pie. But this design is actually even simpler, where you keep the strips nice and straight, and you just lay them on the pie, and then you move on. So I actually think it's easier than the traditional lattice, because you don't have to worry about folding certain strips back and following a pattern or anything. In a second, we'll see that once you put the dough on the pie, you just leave it there and you don't have to touch it again.
How long can dough last, say, in the fridge?
In the fridge, I would say a couple days. If you know you're not going to use it, I would just pop it in the freezer. So usually I make a big batch of dough, let it rest in the fridge until, you know, all the gluten is formed. Oops, it's a little bit sticky.
Which is a few hours, overnight?
Yeah, a minimum of 3 hours. I like to do it overnight, just so it's nice and rested. And then I will usually stick it all in the freezer so that when I am ready to roll it out, then I just pull it out, let it thaw in the fridge overnight, and then I just kind of have an endless store of dough ready to go.
And you can freeze it for long time.
Like 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
I've never had the occasion to leave it in there longer. I usually use it fast enough.
Okay.
But I think it lasts pretty long.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so I think I was told to move the strips this way and the pie this way so everybody can see. Is that a good angle?
Good? Yep, okay, he says good.
And a quick note about dough scraps, you can bake these off and have them as working snacks because, you know, your pie is going to be chilling in the fridge and then it'll bake for a couple hours. You need something to do. You can also bake off these strips as pie fries with either cinnamon sugar or Team Savory's. Sprinkle them with Parmesan cheese.
Oh.
So. Okay, so first step is, or second step, this was the first step. We're going to take a little ring cutter. If you don't have a circle cutter, you can use a little cup or a little bowl, and we'll just rest it right in the center gently. And then we'll start by just picking up one strip and laying it across the surface. This one's a little tiny bit short, but that's okay. And then we'll just press it into the edge, and that's the entire technique. So I know, very complicated. You definitely have to go to culinary school to do this. Not at all. If you can pick up a dough strip, and then basically this is where it sounds technical, but the end in your left hand will be to the left of the first strip, and the end in your right hand will be to the right.
Oh, you keep going, all right.
Yeah, so we're just going to keep moving in the same direction all the way around the pie. Again, keeping the strip straight, press it into the edge, and then it should also, just to make sure it stays, not too hard. And then you also want to make sure the strip grazes that kind of center ring cutter, and this is our reference point. So again, the strips are separated by about 1/2 inch gap, and you want to make sure the space is even on both sides. That will kind of lend the visual precision.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. We'll make our way all the way around the pie twice. So right now you can see there's a single layer of dough, and you'll know when to stop when it's doubled up all the way around, or if you run out of strips.
Yeah, okay. And this is, for this amount of dough, this is a standard dough recipe quantity? You're not using extra to get these strips?
Yep, this is one disc of dough.
Okay, and this is in the oven for how long?
It depends on what your filling is. So for something like really juicy, like berries, it'll take a little bit longer, but I like to initially blast the pie at high heat. So I'll do 30 minutes at like 425 or 400, and then I'll cover the edge, and then I'll turn the heat down to either 375 or 400, and then keep baking it until, one, the crust is golden, but most importantly, that the filling is bubbling all the way through the center. So that's when you know it's fully cooked, because
all the way through the center. Okay.
Yeah, I use tapioca starch as a thickening agent, and so you want it to be boiling and bubbling so that cooks out and you don't have that kind of grainy, floury texture when you eat the pie.
Okay. So I want to thank now, and join me in thanking Lauren Coe before we have a little snack.
Thank you so much for coming.